an original member of the People's Democratic Party, PDP. That was G9. What informed the formation of the People's Democratic Party?
Yeah, very, very, I think, up to question, very, very relevant, because you have to know the background, like you said. You see, in 1998, after Abacha died, during his time, before he died, he made some effort to transform into a civilian president through the military, using the power of the government, creating his own political parties, using his own ministers, and his loyalists to promote a cause which was purely his. And some of us at that time who felt that it was very, very wrong for anybody to take advantage of a government he is heading, to then manipulate it, and then use it to transform himself into a leader of the country through this kind of method, which is very, very unorthodox. So some nationalists, some leaders came together under the leadership of late Ali Kwame. Were 9 of us: late Ali Kwame, late Senator Ella, late Bola Ege, late Solomola, late Abubakar Limi, Adamu Chiroma, Professor Jerigana, Yochia Ayu, and myself. Came together at the time and then discussed the country's politics. And then we reflected. We took in our journey history, evolution from 1960 to the time Abacha was trying to transform into a military president, into a civilian president. We look at what was then the dream of our founding fathers, what we were at independence, and what kind of hope the world has on Nigeria, the kind of hope the black race had on Nigeria. Because I've been saying it is the biggest black assembly on earth. And so every black man looks to Nigeria for inspiration, for leadership. And Nigeria is supposed to be his own reference point. And then we look through the country and the political evolution. You know, this school of 1966, the civil war, where a brother was pursuing a brother like a chicken and a fowl, killing him. And thereafter, the culture of military into politics. The aberrations, the distortions. And then, after I know cruelty on Nigerians in the 1983, when Buhari came on board, his approach to what is called governance and humanity, where government was reduced to an instrument of fear and persecution and blackmail. Because when Buhari came in 1983, he clamped all political leaders in Nigeria into prison, all of them. And our leaders who were then, who were revered, and our clerics, and our malams, and the trainers, were all harassed under Buhari. For instance, the Emir of Kano, late Adobaro, the Uniofe, were clamped down. They're given some kind of, I think, house arrest. Papa Olo, his passport was confiscated. For 2 years, he couldn't go for his medical checkup. He pleaded. Late Gumi, Malam, had the same problem. And you see, it was simply a reign of terror and humiliation and intimidation. And then the courts put in place tribunals. The coupists who overthrew the government, claimed that the government was very, very corrupt, formed their own court to try the people, the alien accused as being corrupt, for corruption. So naturally, none of them who was tried was found not guilty. All of them, all the governors then who were tried, under those military courts, were found guilty because they are coupists who, in the first instance, overthrew the government on the basis of corruption, who were trying them on corruption. So you could see the total destruction of what you may call institutions, the destruction of the human kind of, what I may call, human authority. And so thereafter, Babangida came on board. Of course, his own manipulation and whatever. And June 12th, And then Abacha who came in, trying to again to transform into a military president. So this informed the forming of this group of 9 to look at issues in the country from 1960 to 1998. And we felt that no matter what, the base of governance is democracy. And we said, no, we'll do everything humanly possible to fight Abacha so that he doesn't succeed himself in government. Of course, myself and Ademi were picked up, were taken to detention. We only came out after Abacha died. So you see the history of that, the formation of G9 to checkmate Abacha. And then after formation of G18 to look at democracy in Nigeria, and G34. These were leaders who had seen it all, who reflected, who brainstormed. And how do we look at our past mistakes? How do we restore that thing called, the Nigerian trust as a Nigerian family? Because the military culture has taken away that thing we call mutual trust, nepotism, imposition, humiliation, harassment, lack of human rights. So Nigerians no longer believe in Nigeria, or even in themselves. So what we did in 1990 was to put in a political party which will be able to look at our history and look at those mistakes which were made. Some of them, of course, were just mistakes of natural evolution, but most of them were simply induced. And to be able to create or to bring back a Nigeria where the Nigerian people will be federating in their own country with equal rights. How do we achieve that? To say fair enough, well, problem of the political question in Nigeria, because from 1960 to 1998, there was kind of preponderance of a particular part of the country producing leaders. And June 12 apparently seemed to confirm people's fear that our latest northerner, there will not be anything called real democracy in Nigeria. So this fear has to be, it was very, very germane, it was very, very real. It has to be addressed. How do we convince all Nigerians that this country is for all Nigerians? It's for those northerners and southerners, easterners, Christians, Muslims, majority, that it's a federation of human beings for all of us. Which means the first question is, how do we address the issue of political leadership in the country? And so PDP came with this principle, and I've been saying this over and over. You all know it, that democracy, has to be able to address and cure your needs and your problems. And I've been saying this over again. Even the Americans who claim to fight democracy, took them time to have what they call their own kind of democracy. Even now, they have their own mistakes. So we said, look, if, for instance, the Americans who look at democracy as a means to an end, not an end to a means, you understand? And they could say that, elections held in Algeria in 1990, the government then produced by the Muslim fundamentalists does not seem to tally with the American foreign interest, and they are able to truncate it. If the same Americans were able to look at the Hamas election in Palestine and say that, and the whole of the Palestinian political system is anti-America, and they're able to come and scuttle it. If, for instance, again, the same Americans will look at Egypt and say, no, the election in Egypt which produced Morsi is not in tune and in line with their own interests. So it means democracy should be able to address your own national interests, your own national passion. Simple. I'm saying this so they know that democracy should be able to address our needs. It should not be something which is going to imprison us. So in our democracy, if I like to go and guide it, will keep creating problem for us, then we should be able to guide it. So we say, fine, because of these injuries of June 12th, of an element, and the killing of Kudirat, Rewani, and many, many others who died for democracy. How do we appease the West who felt terribly offended and unwanted in Nigeria? Which means give them the chance to produce the president. And this was something which was openly discussed. And to testify that we are right, even the then AD and the APP, who are other political parties, saw the wisdom in PDP locating the presidency to the West. I've been saying this, it's not new, it's something you all know, that after the AD convention, which produced Olufalaye, and the APP convention, which produced Paul Omu, the conventions are the highest authority of party leadership. And they are collapsed unceremoniously. They are collapsed, these two conventions. And they picked Olufalaye from AD to run under APP, because the Yoruba man from the East. And then pulled down Onu, who is Igbo, from APP. And then brought Shinkafi from APP to run with Olufalaye. Olufalaye of AD, running under the flag of APP. And Onu pulled out and sacrificed for Nigeria's stability and Nigeria's peace. Was sacrificed. And so in 1999, you had 3 Yorubas running for the presidency. So either way, the entire process was designed to appease the Yorubas. Both AD, ANPP, or APP there, and PD knew that something would be there in terms of resolving our political crisis of leadership. And I've been saying the election of 1999 is not about power or infrastructure or energy. It was about restoring the Nigerian trust in each Nigerian that this country is also yours. And so you can only develop this trust. So PDP in 1999 won the election, and in 2 to 3 years we were able to get the country properly reconciled, properly restored, and properly stabilized, for us to begin to face other aspects of human development and democracy. And that's why I've been saying, today, if there's anybody who was able to benefit from PDP in Nigeria, is Buhari. Because it's the very country which has been restored and stabilized, and for him to come and be a Nigerian president. Because in 1999, I don't think he will even come and say he won't run for, under any arrangement. He couldn't. So this is what informed the future of the PDP. That the country was growing, but then it was growing with a lot of tension and division, and there is no trust. So let us for once get the political questions properly settled. And that's why, Johnson came on board, a minority, as Nigerian president. And today, at least it's all thanks to PDP that anybody can now vie for the presidency, whether North or East or anybody.
All right, we've heard what you said, but will you say that this is still the PDP of your dream?
In 1999, look at yourself. Today in 2018, are you the same thing?
No.
Absolutely. So you see, PDP is a human institution which tries to bring in Nigerians on board, to understand each other first, not to appreciate. We should know ourselves first as people, as traditions, as cultures, as religion. That you are Christian, I am Muslim. I'm not asking you for your understanding, but then, or for your appreciation, but then it's my right to be. Vice versa, you are Christian, it's your right to be. You're not asking for my appreciation, but for your right to be. So, you see, when we're talking about institutions and human beings, there will be some mistakes. So it cannot be the same party which we had in 1998. It cannot be. But then you see, the principles still remain the same thing. The operators, in 1999, the first chairman was Ali Kwame, he's dead. Then Sule Lamido, he's dead. And then Gemade, he's now in APC. And then Adobe. So it's not the same, but then the principles still remain the same thing as Nigerian party for all Nigerians. That's the main thing.
All right, we want to know, what is your assessment of present-day democracy in Nigeria?
Again, you see, today in Nigeria, if you talk as a citizen, you are mocked, you are terrorized, you are intimidated, you can't even talk because Buhari is there as Mr. Perfect. And that is our biggest problem today, that today as Nigerians, we can't even speak about our own country, about democracy, about our own government, which is ours. So I'm talking to you because I have the right to. Nigeria is my own country. I'm a Nigerian citizen. Nigerian government is my own government, and therefore I have the right to also vent an opinion. the right to vent an opinion on Nigerian government and on the president because he's there presidenting for me. Now, having said this, I never had anything like expectation from Buhari. I had no expectation from him because by his background, by his training, the way he grew up, he doesn't know anything called democracy. He's somebody who came through an institution which knows nothing but obey orders. Order, 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 order. Any sign of disobedience is being seen as treason. That is his mindset. I mean, it's a fact. That is what the military man in him, any military man anywhere, there's this kind of instinct that if you vent an opinion about them, then it means you are a threat. In democracy, the more you talk, the more the issues are understood. In military culture and mentality and tradition, you don't complain, you don't talk, you simply obey. And so I had no expectation of Buhari as a Democrat because you can't give what you don't have. Neither can you give what you don't know. And that's why, it is opaque. I mean, it's not democracy because you could see it. Even those who are supposed to be civilians don't even the courtesy of yes. When Mr. A speaks, he's speaking as a Nigerian with rights. You are demonized. You are called a hooligan. You are called a wailing wailer. Look at Obasanjo, what he said of Buhari. He said the same thing about Jonathan, he was being hailed. Same thing about Babangida, he was being hailed. Same thing about Buhari, he's being demonized because Buhari is a deity. Buhari is a gift to Nigeria. And therefore, if Buhari is gone, then Nigeria is going to perish. That is the danger we're facing. That Buhari is a normal human being, a Nigerian citizen who can make mistakes and who is there for all of us. Those who are in PDP who are wailing, and those who are in APC who are hailing. Both the hailers and the wailers are Nigerian people, and he's their president. They should know this simple fact. When they do, then the country can move. So I don't see Buhari as a Democrat because he doesn't know what is called democracy. His governance is a government, of intimidation and fear. Fear today is the culture of governance. Discrimination, nepotism. You could see it. It's very, very apparent. We all know it. And because he's there, you see, and because he's being feared, today we are groaning under difficulties. Our lives, our hospitals, our security. In Nigeria, the Boko Haram is there. It's not being reported because people fear reporting that thing because they know the consequences. They report Boko Haram. The killings in the north, the Fulani and the Hausa, they kill each other, in Zamfara, all over. The government from Zamfara, the center from Zamfara, Marafa, was on IIT, talking about his state in Zamfara, that, the killing being done in Zamfara is more than what is being done under Boko Haram. And yet, if you dare report it, the government and the APC, make sure that you are silenced. And he said he feel unsafe because the government of APC does not believe in democracy or in rights. They believe in terror, in intimidation, harassment. You could see it. Look at how can a government go to court and ask for the Senate to stop, investigating any issue in Nigeria, any APC issue? The government went to court. That, the Senate has no right to do any investigation under NAPC. Look at this guy they called a minor who came back. You understand? Look at the thing between the head of service and the vice president and SGF. In the chamber, look at the exchange. Some glaring mistakes. We're human beings. What we like is the honor to say we are wrong. That's what we lack, the honor, because we claim perfection. We claim we are near to God. But then leadership, the whole leadership knows to say, yes, I am a human being leading human beings, and I can make mistakes.
Your Excellency, you have served outside the shores of Nigeria, representing the country as an ambassador. You were a two-time governor of Jigawa State. Why do you want to be president of Nigeria?
Well, two things. The Nigerian Constitution says any Nigerian has the right to aspire to any position he thinks he can occupy. That's one. Number two, as a person, I feel, and I've been saying this over and over, that this country called Nigeria has honored me, has dignified me. It gave me a place to grow. Our founding fathers, at their time, worked very hard for our own generation to be properly mentored, to be properly guided, preparing us to be leaders one day. And I think our duty after attaining our age of leadership is to see how do we give back to Nigeria what Nigeria gave us. So in this context, I feel that Nigeria has honored me. Our leaders, has worked hard for me. So I can also, in return, pay back what I was given by my founding fathers, the mentoring, the guidance, and leadership in government. That's number one. Number two, in human evolution, we need people who are properly guided. If you look at today as leaders, I would say that we are giving the younger generation the kind of hope and guidance and mentoring we got when we were young. Why not? Now, so it means Nigeria, our leaders were there for Nigeria during their own time. Our own generation is us being there for Nigeria, being there for us. All of us, it has produced governors, ministers, presidents, Dangotes. The Nigerian people individually, are fast growing very, very fast, attaining, status, another in this world. But then the Nigerian nation is sliding backwards. So if Nigeria has been there for us for all these years, why can't we for once be there for Nigeria? So my aspiration is that in my political party, I've been saying, I'm not desperate. My aspiration is not desperation. My desire and concern and what I knew Nigeria how it was. I know Nigeria now. The culture of hate. And again, I mean no offense. I saw one boy talking about, vilifying a paper called Fans, that they are writing, hate articles and hate headlines. But then you see, his principal, Buhari, is the author of hate speech in Nigeria. It's a fact. This is a fact because go into your own campaign slogan in 2011. What he was saying, especially in the north in particular, not in the south, that Nigerians, northerners, cast your vote, stand by, escort it, and if you are touched, kill. He said so. That's as far back as 2011. And the build-up of 2015 in the north, something else. Everything hateful. Between a brother and brother, they'll go into a house and inject hate. Neighbor and neighbors. So today Nigeria is a country which is being led by hate heroes. And the culture of hate is part of our governance. And that's why even by the utterance of the president, and again, I mean no offense. Because you see, people say he is genuine, he is sincere, he's honest. I agree. But then you see, when you hear his speeches, you begin to wonder, this is sincerity. Beyond, the character, he's also genuinely and sincerely ignorant. Because they ask him, especially like, how do you approach the issue of inclusive government? They asked him a question. How do you approach the issue of inclusive government? What did he say? What did he say? He said he only work where he got the votes. And in society, he was very honest about it. He was sincere. But they saw, you see, in that sincerity, he's equally ignorant. So he is genuinely sincere, genuinely ignorant, but genuinely sincere in his own ignorance. They asked him about, the German chancellor. See what he called her. And he was very honest about it. He was sincere, he was genuine. So he's genuinely ignorant about oil subsidy. If you look at, on that clip on oil subsidy, if you see the intensity in him when he was speaking about fraud, that also is a fraud. Who is subsidizing who? He was very, very genuine. He was very, very honest, but then he is genuinely ignorant, sincerely ignorant. So you see, it is somebody who is so good, but because he doesn't know, we're in trouble. That's why the government, that's why, look at the government now. See what they're saying about NIA in the Senate. Babagana, the one they're trying to steal. Look at, the issue of this, what do you call it, Babachir. A committee set up by the president himself, headed by his attorney general, with a report indicting him. Another committee set by the same president, headed by the vice president, and indicting him. It took the letter of Obasanjo to pick Babachir just for the show. Just for the show. After picking him, after 2 days he was on bail. He was never arraigned. Was he? And they will never arraign him. They will never. Because to him, Buhari, you see, he's very genuine, even about what he's doing. He's sincere about it. That, yeah, I am sincerely nepotistic. He says so. I am genuinely nepotistic. He says so. Because these things are supposed to be governed by our own constitution. But because by his history and tradition and culture, again, I mean no offense, he is not a civilian leader. His approach, his mindset is something else. Look at the issue of today, petroleum. Look at labor. Under Jonathan, same Buhari was in demonstration. All right? Today we're queuing all over for the last 1 month. And nobody can even say no to it. Nobody can talk. You can't even demonstrate because they will pick you and harass you. They'll say, are they a thief under EFCC? And we're in trouble. I mean, look, when Buhari was coming back from his sick leave, there are organized demonstration with multi-troops escorting the demonstrators. When this boy, this boy who was trying to organize his own demonstration, he was picked and tear-gassed. So today, if tomorrow I'm going to organize a demonstration for Buhari to remain, because it's the best thing ever to happen in Nigeria, I'll have the support of the government, of the armed forces, of the police, and then I'll be escorted. If I say I'm going tomorrow to demonstrate about the issue of queue, full queue, they'll pick me up. So Nigerians is simply withdrawn, and it's dangerous for Buhari. It is not love. It is fear. They withdrawn, and the day will come when they tell him who he is. And that's why he'll be able to sit up. Look at the country as a Nigerian federation for Nigerian people. Look at his government. It's Nigerian government for Nigerian people, not for those who are close to him.
You have started your consultations with delegates and stakeholders, relevant people. How far have you gone with your consultations?
Very far. You see, again, wherever I go, I am a party man. I will engage the party members first. Our party called PDP. What was our history at formation in 1998? What were the reflections? And in which way do we form the party in terms of our mission and vision? After 16 years, what have we done right? What have we done wrong? There are some wrongs done which are purely part of a political evolution of human beings as an institution, human institution. There are some wrongs which were simply reckless. We have now known our lesson. Today in Nigeria, can we say honestly, we are better off than we were under PDP? In the year 2018 today, in the month of February, is Nigeria more united than we were 4 years ago? Is the economy more buoyant than when 4 years ago? Is the freedom in Nigeria people enjoy there today than it was in 4 years ago? As a country with image and reputation, are we there again? So, if we're on the same page, we share common concerns with our country, for our country, we believe in our country, then we know the problem. Therefore, if we share the same concerns on the same page, then I will run. Which means by the time I'm running, you are also running. It means it is what we believe on, what we believe in, which is running in the presidency, in the campaign. That, there's a huge task. Because Nigeria has been literally crushed to the ground level. That thing called mutual trust. Look, it's a country where today we're selling human parts, where kidnapping of fellow human beings has become an industry, Go to the north. In the villages, people picking people and demanding about 20 naira for something they kill you. Look at the hatred. Look at the blood. Look at the love historically between the Fulanis and the TVs. Look at that love. It's all gone. Because the country would normally assume the character of its own leader. All right? If the leader is compassionate, if the leader is humane, is a democrat, is understanding, is caring, then the people will queue up. If the leader is discriminating and simply conferring privileges on Nigeria, not right, privileges, right, but not right, then it means people withdraw. And today, I feel people have now withdrawn, and they are watching in their own country because they are assuming the character of their leader.
If at the end of the day you become the presidential candidate of PDP, you have the opposition to contend with, and the opposition will come from the ruling APC in Nigeria. Are you ready to face whatever opposition that will come from the APC who might want to use the federal might against you?
You see, people talk like that. It makes me more you see, how do you know? I feel more worried for Nigeria. That you, as a citizen, will say, is my power going to be restrained if I make my own position? Is my right going to be curtailed if I make a demand? People are now encouraging, unwittingly, subtly saying, Buhari, use your power to come back. That's what they're saying, impliedly. So you are injecting into him already what he is as a character. Now, if we are putting this kind of feeling in him, then it means Nigeria are already being programmed to submit that, yes, power is there. But under Jonathan, was there no power? Was there no money? It is the power of the Nigerian people to decide their own fate more than anything else. Not government, not money, not Buhari. It is the power of the Nigerian people to say, this is the government we want, this is the person we want to vote for. And let him dare them if they make their own verdict. Just like Jonathan. And people like Buhari is saying that, he found, he admired Jonathan for conceding defeat. He said so. He admires him. He commends him. Now, let us see whether he was standing by the same principle he enjoyed.
Well, within your party, we now have some people just entering the race, notably Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. Are you bothered? Are you moved?
You are making the question very, very personal. PDP have been in power for 16 years. Having been that privileged by Nigerians to lead Nigeria, was Nigerian presidents, 3 of them, later Baba Obasanjo and Jonathan, with so many governors, so many ambassadors, so many ministers. So, you see, to me, it is who will restore this glory of making Nigeria great. That's what. Who among the aspirants will restore Nigeria to our glory, our lost glory, a country now divided along ethnic lines, a country now divided along religious lines, a country now where there's no security, where there's hardship, where there's almost everything hazardous, a country where human beings don't know anything what you call, human essence. I mean, look, you saw in Nigeria, they show you a picture on Facebook of a child whose head had been chopped off, one man holding the head, the other man holding the trunk of the body. In Nigeria, where they say there's market for human parts. In Nigeria, where we're killing each other. In Nigeria, where government has no meaning to you. In Nigeria, where the government doesn't give you service, and then we must glorify it. In Nigeria, where if you speak, you are called a whaler. In Nigeria, where governance has become a kind of privilege, it confers not rights. A government which is very, very condescending and patronizing. A government which, look, the Nigerian government is mine by right. I should not be patronized. Not by condescension. I will not take that. So when I say, we should speak as Nigerian with rights. 4 years ago, nobody spoke about Buhari. What about Buhari? And this is because they're in government. 4 years ago, it was Jonathan they're abusing. Even calling his wife what? Hippopotamus. I mean, he was personally vilified, insulted, clueless. But now he's out of government. So the heat now on Buhari. Why can't he be that good to accept that, yes, he's occupying a position to which, Nigeria have the right to look at him and say, sir, we are suffering. Without being blackmailed, without being called, hooligans. Eh?
Within the People's Democratic Party, there has been this allegation that some governors have this overbearing influence on the party. And if that is the case, if you are not in their camp, don't you think they can work against you?
You see, again, as human beings, we manifest some human shortcomings. It's up to us to put in place institutions and mechanisms we should be able to check this kind of thing. Simple. Look, Buhari, when he had his own APC or CPC, the elections in his own party, and he won a governorship in Nasarawa and some seats in Katsina. You understand? They are already in the house, having been sworn in. About how many, 15 of them. Buhari went to court, he said, they are not my candidates. Isn't it? And they was wrong. And then he submitted those whom he said were his own candidates. Now, there being election. And by the mandate, the people say, these are people who voted for. They are carrying their own mandate. Buhari said, no, I don't care about your mandate. These are the men I want. So what I'm saying is that, let's put in place the mechanism which will be able to checkmate, this kind of, what you may call impunity. But they say, inherently, all human beings are simply selfish. But they make the condition impossible for them to impose their needs. Simple.
The party, PDP, has said it many times that there were some errors in 2015. How are you trying to make sure that there will not be a recurrence of those mistakes of 2015?
This is the party. So we in PDP know our errors. It's not solely alone. It's not solely. It's we in PDP who will come together and say, look, these have been our errors, these were our errors. How do we avoid those errors? And we know them very, very well. And we should be able to work around them and restore that thing called trust, because we lost trust of the people. And that's why they went to APC. And APC now has betrayed their trust. Even Dogara, the speaker says so, that, the president betrayed their trust. He said so. I mean, look, people in the APC party, in the government, are wailing and screaming, like those of us who are also wailing. There is witch hunt in APC, like there is in PDP. So see, it's all about, a coalition of some few individuals, who don't know what is called governance and leadership, who have hijacked government. That's all. I mean, go to the Senate, look at the revelation in the Senate. The former acting DG and NIA, what was about Babagana and Sankabal, and about some $46 million, which they're trying to appropriate. Well, they say, and they use Buhari's name. It's a government of name dropping because the leader in this government is genuinely honest and sincere. That's why they know he doesn't know anything. So Buhari is 100% good, but he's over good. Because you should be able to say, if who is doing what and where. Look at it and then say no to it. Look at it. I mean, how can the government go to court to stop, investigating an accusation of his own agent? What kind of lessons are we giving the younger generation? What is there for? What lessons are we giving them to know when they grow up? What is leadership? Because power must be guided under law. Simple.
Now let's go on a wider scale. We seem to be in a season of letters. One letter from former president of Nigeria, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, another one from former military president Ibrahim Babangida, One of the high points of the letters, the two letters, is the issue of what they refer to as digital leadership. That the young ones should be allowed to lead. You are over 60. How do you react to that?
Well, you see, luckily, I share the same world with a day-old boy. A boy born today is sharing the same world with me. So, if you create, the worlds of ages, take me where I belong to. Simple. But if you say, simply because on account of my own age, I should not be there. You see, that is something for the younger generation to go and do on the voting day. They can go and pick any candidate who they think is about 30 years or 25, and then vote for him because they are a majority. But then the question is, you see, they are also coming from families. Back home there, they've got their own parents. How do they contend with them? Because they leave the house. So I think, you see, it is part of our frustration and part of our bankruptcy leadership. When leadership loses focus, people begin to conjecture anything in their minds to find relief and escape. These are symptoms of failure. You understand? If the youth is employed, he's happy. Who does he care who is the president? He doesn't give a damn. If the old man is equally happy, the pensioner, the driver in filling station. I mean, if there is contentment and happiness in society, who cares who is the president? But then when the system, which you think is supposed to give you succor, and give you comfort, is not there anymore, they begin to invent some other kind of thing, begin to conjecture, maybe if I do this or this. So these are simply conjectures of failure. All the government in Nigeria today are youth, aren't they? If you go to the local government headquarters, the council chairman, the councillors, the civil servants, they are all youth. In the state, the government are all young men. Isn't it? Fine. In National Assembly, they're all very young. So when you say you're talking only about the presidency, isn't it? So it is simply not having, if you have the person with the commitment, with the understanding, with the compassion, with the large heart, to give each Nigerian a space. That's what they want. Somebody who is loving, who is compassionate, who is caring, who is open, who is transparent, who is very, very honest, who is humane, with a very large heart to give each and every Nigerian a space in his own heart. That's all.
Now, Nigeria's electoral body, INEC, has gone cap in hand to EFCC, Anti-Graft Agency, asking them, please help us track the way politicians are spending money on campaign. Are you in tune with that? Do you agree with that?
If only they'll be tracking the presidency. The story coming out from the president, let them go and track it there. You know what's happening in the presidency. But the scandal there, they're all there. The Baru, the Maru, the NTM. I mean, let them go there and track it. Can they? Look, you see, we're a country of double speak. Let us one thing like that. We are Nigerian, and this country is ours, all of us, with a stake. We should not get things personalized. When we make the whole thing open for all, then they'll be confident. But then you see, when we begin to deploy some kind of mechanism and some means to be able to fight an opponent, then there's a problem. I know their own job. They know their own job, isn't it? If for them there are some conditions which you must fulfill. If you do, you contest. If you're elected, then you become. Their role is simply to be an umpire. Notice how you're going to be. The character of the person is not their own business. Let the rules and regulations they put in place check the character of the person. All right? So let them put some criteria. That's all. And if the contestant, fulfill the criteria, that's the end of it. They are only working as an umpire based on some rules given to them to work upon. By the time these rules requirements are fulfilled by the contestant or aspirants, it's not their business about character. Let the people there judge his own character, the voters.
We cannot end this interview without touching the area of herdsmen and farmers clashes. And the clashes seem to be defying every solution. Can we have an idea of your own solution to this? How do we end herdsmen-farmers clashes?
I don't know the solution first, my understanding of the whole thing. Herdsmen, farmers, correct? Herdsmen are looking for land for grazing. Farmers are looking for a land to farm and grow food. In America, is the American farmer a houseman or a TV man? Is the American, dairy guy who has huge, the ranch or whatever, the cows in excess of hundreds, are they Fulanis? If you go to Denmark, they've got the best dairy product in Nigeria in the world. Are they Fulanis? So the issue is about Fulani farmer, or the issue is about land and the land contest, because we are growing population and the need for land is there. Which means it's for us to hold that kind of conference and brainstorm. How were the Americans able to feed their own people and also have cows for their meat? In the entire world, in Europe, anyway, how can they know they are able to look at their own program into agriculture and land grazing, so that we then begin to task our intellect. We give orders to our brain, give us solutions. It is very, very simple. If, for instance, the farmer feels that he must have maybe 100 hectares to produce maybe 10 tons of maybe rice or millet, can he do the same thing in 1 hectare? If he can, then it means it's not about land size, it's about the yield. So if you're going to get in 10 hectares, you're getting in one hectare, then the other 9 is just excess. It has no purpose. Similarly, the herdsmen who are going about grazing, moving around over an area maybe 100 hectares or 50 hectares, looking for the grass for his own cow to feed. And so eat about, with all the fatigue and the traveling, and they eat about 20 kilograms, for nourishment. If you can produce this grass within 1 hectare, and the animal will be able to feed his cow, it will take half a kilogram. You give him all the milk and all the meat. Then it means he doesn't need this large area to go on ranching, whether it's colony or whatever. You see, it's simply understand what are the issues about food and meat. It's not about, a tribe. And so when we debate that for how long will we remain mentally docile, tilting the land with our hands, from now to the next 100 years, are we going to, the same plan moving around, in the forest? Is it possible? Is it possible? Are you going to have the same kind of farmer, using hoe, using his own physical labor to till the land? No. So simply understand, it is a modern world. These things are simply because it's poverty and the docility of leadership. Doesn't know what are the issues. How do we address the issue of food in Nigeria? It's not by the size of land, but by the quality of the kind of land we have. I was governor in Jigawa State, and I don't want to be beating my chest, etc. But then you see, it's what we as Nigerians, let us have a conference. The emirs, the chiefs, the Dangote, maybe from another level, get maybe 50%. Let's debate this issue. Do we continue killing ourselves like this? If we are, fine, we'll continue. Or do we think we are simply being a country which is unique in the world, a country of evil, a country of demons, where we kill each other, where blood flows all over? Then, if you look at a Nigerian farmer, how do we have a farmer who will be using his hoe, physical labor, to produce food? And one of the things I probably understood and addressed is very, very simple. The issue is about land. And whether you are a farmer or not a farmer, in your village, there's contest between neighbors for land, between this neighbor and this, they're fighting. You get me? So It is because somehow as people, we have lost our human essence. If I look at you, I should see my own reflection. But then the leadership in the country has become so diminished that, people begin to imagine, invite, or conjecture, or perceive things which they think will give them relief. It's temporary. Whether we do it or not, there is no way we'll be using this kind of farming in the next 100 years. We can't do that. It has to alter. Neither can we be going out, grazing in the land, in the bush, roaming around with cows. It has to. It can't work because it's not been in America, and the world over. So why can't we understand? Why can't we, think deeply? Why can't we, look at ideas of other countries? How have they been able to get out of it? So it's land contest. It's not about Fulani or farmer or TV. It's about land, food and meat, and they are both very, very important.
Now, without doubt, 2019 countdown has started. We want your words of advice to Nigerians.
That first and foremost, that this country is ours as people. We collectively own the land. It's not for anybody. And it's for the people who be able to say, as a nation, the way we are, our source of pride to the world, to the black world, or a source of maybe shame. And then we begin to pray conscious that there's something wrong, which we know they are very wrong. Which means then in our personal conduct, even from our own homes, we begin to manifest some kind of traits which make us better human beings. And by the time we go out to campaign, we don't become so desperate that check count your vote, escort it, and then kill if you are touched. Because in 2011 there were killings. My office in Kano was burned down based on this incitement of hate speech. Youth were marching to my house to go and kill my wife and my children because this hate speech. So the hate speech, is a creation of APC government. And because they killed by the sword, the same sword will kill them.
That will be all on this special edition of Democracy Today. Your Excellency, we thank you very much for your time, and we hope when next we come, you'll be there for us.
Good to see you again. Good to see you again. You're looking very well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.